Welcome to Business Now, your go-to hub for sharp insights into the fast-moving world of finance and enterprise. In this episode, economists advise government to lower rising domestic arrears. We talk about digitizing health services and can employers be involved as key to unlocking access to more affordable mortgages. We also explore how women in rural Uganda are profiting from agriculture after getting markets. All that in more than just over 20 minutes. Let's just get into it. But first, these are the top business stories. Uganda plans to reduce external borrowing by 98% in 2025-26 financial year to address rising public debt, which stood at $25.6 billion in June. The government aims to cut overall spending and domestic borrowing, signaling a shift towards fiscal consolidation. President Donald Trump's 100th day in office on Wednesday brings attention to his administration's trade policies. Recent tariff implementations have contributed to market volatility, with the average U.S. tariff rate reaching approximately 12%, the highest since World War II. And the International Monetary Fund has urged global leaders to resolve escalating trade tensions, emphasizing the economic costs of uncertainty. The big story that could shake global markets is sanctions on oil producers. New U.S. sanctions on Iranian and Venezuela oil exports are expected to reduce global supply, potentially tightening market balances in the near term. Without talking about Russia, short term, if global supply tightens, African countries could see gradual rises in palm prices, especially countries that are heavily import dependent like Uganda, Kenya, and Senegal. Coming up on Business Now, Uganda's domestic arrears portfolio is turning heads. Can the government cut down the 13 trillion figure? Will Ugandans in the low-income bracket ever afford decent homes in today's expensive market? And women in northern Uganda profiting from oilseed farming.
The rate at which the arrears are being paid cannot keep up with the growth.
So Clinic Pesa's model is very traditional in a sense that your saving is what you use to pay your medical bill.
Our products have market because one connected us to buyers.
The government of Uganda is facing significant challenges with domestic arrears, which are impacting the broader economy. The now 13.8 trillion shillings figure became a hotly debated topic in Parliament last week. Economist and Executive Director for the Federation of Small and Medium Enterprises, John Kakungulu Walgembe, is advising government to rein in on the unnecessary growth of these liabilities, noting that some dates cannot be properly traced.
The domestic arrears portfolio has been growing. Initially it was when it was around 8 trillion, we made a lot of noise. Then it went to 10. Now it's estimated to be 13. But the issue is that the rate at which the arrears are being paid cannot keep up with the growth. You see, if you want to clear arrears, you want to ensure that you also arrest the rate of growth of the arrears. Because if, for instance, you're paying out 600 billion, but contracting one additional trillion every year, then you're really not doing much, because the gross arrears portfolio is actually growing by 400 billion. So I think we must take a two-pronged approach, up to a three-pronged approach. One, we must ensure that we limit the unnecessary growth of domestic arrears. Two, we must split arrears into two, what I'll call the essential and the non-essential. The essential would be those arrears ought to providers of goods and services. They are provided an actual good and service. Then you have what I call the non-essential or the dubious arrears, court awards, all these things. Someone manufactures something and then in a cartelish way, he's awarded maybe to 10 or 20 billion, but he cannot show how much he has invested. He has just shuffled papers and stuff. So I would really split them into the essential and non-essential. And then I would really create a repayment plan for the essential. For the non-essential, you could even negotiate, because as I said, someone has not invested actual money, someone is looking at loopholes, someone is saying, former employees of UEB, who most of whom have died anyway, are demanding so much money. Now if you place on interest on top of that and stuff. So So for me, I would really separate them into that two. Now, in terms of impact on business, that's essential domestic areas, as I've named them, hurt businesses. Why? Because it's akin to lending to government at zero interest. Because government is supposed to pay you, but that debt is not growing. They are not putting interest in your money. So if they don't pay you for 10 years, it means you've given government a loan for 10 years interest-free. So I think that to stop this practice of unnecessary contraction of domestic areas, we could put a time frame within which service providers ought to be paid. And if they are not paid within that period, the accounting officer who has engaged them is personally liable. Because some of these people actually engage service providers at the tail end of the financial year when there is no possibility that they'll actually be paid. Okay? Some stretch out the procurement process for so long that you contract in May when the financial year is ending in June. So these are so there are operational inefficiencies within government that lead to the growth of domestic areas. And there's also negligence, professional negligence on behalf of some accounting officers that leads to this problem growing each year. But those areas that are owed to providers of goods and services, particularly SMEs, are a big problem, and it's something we ought to want to resolve. So I think working with government for businesses is risky, and many businesses have taken the decision not to work with government. However, government is the largest customer, and every business cannot ignore working with government, because government is, in spite of the challenges we've mentioned, poor pay and taking long to pay and so on, some businesses feel that it's a worthwhile risk to take.
Women in rural Uganda continue to face significant challenges in accessing markets for their agricultural produce, resulting in limited earnings despite their substantial contributions to farming. Now, experts point out that the high-value markets often require certifications in packaging that demand financial investments many rural women cannot afford. We traveled to Kapjan sub-county in Katakwi District on the invitation of a non-governmental organization and found some success stories.
Yes, we are working with Dan Church Aid and the Sokadido to connect smallholder farmers to formal markets. We are using a market systems development approach where we bring smallholder farmers and link them directly to off-takers, but we also ensure that other actors within the value chain are available to work with the farmers to ensure they access quality inputs, access service handling materials, access extension and training services, and also access storage facilities. Yeah, we basically work with 300 smallholder farmers, and 60% of those are women entrepreneurs. And the youth, the number of the youth is still small. As you know, they are not usually motivated to be at the production level of the value chain, but around 120 of the members are actually youth below the age of 35. Much as we are trying our best to connect these smallholder farmers to markets, to formal buyers, sometimes they fail to meet the volumes because there are prolonged droughts, there are pests and diseases that were never used to be there. So sometimes production becomes a challenge because of the climate change and its consequences. But also, we also still have a challenge of inputs. The quality of inputs sometimes is questionable, and some of the seeds fail to perform to the expectation of the farmers, and we end up failing to meet the demand of the buyers.
Our products have market because one connected us to buyers of the G-nuts. So I'm really very happy because it's a way that we are getting now at least more money other than these middlemen playing about with us in the village. We are really so happy. Another thing that I want to thank Awan for is it is introducing us to a level of improving actually value addition. It is taking us to that level. I know when we are done with those trainings and then we also learn on value addition, then our products will be, it will earn us a lot, it will earn us more money.
Yeah, I bought peanuts, 14 red, I got about 5 sacks. I sold at 500,000. I bought a cow. I benefit from the cooperative.
Uganda is seeing huge capital flows from investors eyeing the country's growing property demand, while locals have also invested in apartment projects and condominium prices of up to $150,000, remaining so out of reach for majority of the consumers. The team lead at local real estate agency Credo spoke to us about mortgage market dynamics and what the government is doing to improve housing affordability.
There are a number of factors driving the demand for real estate development right now, but majorly urbanization. We are seeing so many peripheral areas that are further from the CBD that are urbanizing at a very fast rate, to the extent that 50 kilometers from the CBD, we are seeing developments coming up. It's where Ugandans are settling. So the CBD is becoming more central for work, but then in terms of stay and residential, people are moving away 10, 20, 30, 50 kilometers away from the city. So definitely that has created secondary cities that are supporting Kampala in terms of taking up people for residential. Now, wherever there's a residential community created, definitely there's need for commercial because they need services to be brought closer to them. That's how now we are seeing commercial and retail properties going nearer to where the people are staying. So the residential need for the people has now created also the need for commercial and retail spaces to get closer to them. We are seeing so many, especially the expatriates and people who are investing for recreation, short-term and long-term home away from homes, furnished apartments, is now becoming the trend in the CBD because then it can accommodate people who are here for short-term businesses, conferences, and gigs. So we are seeing that the CBD is accommodating more furnished units because people are coming in to do short-term contracts and then they leave. Yet the further away areas from the CBD are allowing people to stay for longer, taking up longer leases, rentals, and even homes, and that has led to also saying the investors who are investing in commercial and retail taking their mini malls closer to where the people are staying rather than the CBD. So the demand for real estate, the trends, the urbanization has led to this rapid increment in real estate activity. The size of capital inflow is good in the real estate sector. It's quite huge. We are seeing that as investors are coming in first to look for industrial land and manufacturing, they later go on to develop properties that are mixed use, that can take both commercial, residential, and even in the industrial. That's why you see like areas like Namave and their Kayunga Road and all those industrial roads have started to receive big commercial developments and retail developments because it's following the earlier need that was for only industrialization. So the capital inflow is good, but also the Ugandans are investing more in the real estate. They are doing the apartment projects and the condominiums have come up. Now, for the foreign investment, their main focus now is on condominium developments. It's what they are doing a lot because the market for it is there, but also they are able to market to their markets originally where they come from, for such people to come and buy condominiums here because they have good rental returns, they have good a good legal regime, but they're also located in the affluent neighborhoods of Kampala. So for the most cash flow and capital coming in from abroad, it's majorly concentrated in condominium developments. And there are reasons to support that because it's a more secure way of an investor knowing that their money shall be pulled back much faster than doing a rental property. So they end up investing more in the condominiums because they know that in 3 to 5 years, all the condominiums will be sold and their capital will be brought back with a profit, and then they are able to go to the next project and the next project and the next project.
At Clinic Pesa, we do access to healthcare financing. where we provide people with the ability to save and be able to pay their medical bill. You can be able to save on your handset by dialing *165 *44 hash, and this you can keep some money. When you're sick, there are so many clinics and hospitals that are actually accepting Clinic Pesa. You walk right there and you're able to pay and receive a care. Now we are innovating more by creating more inclusive products for our customers. Today we serve close to over 1.6 million customers. So Clinic Pesa's model is very traditional in a sense that your saving is what you use to pay your medical bill, and you get a loan top up to clear that. So this money is typically secure. We are licensed by the central bank. We run 2 licenses with the central bank. We are licensed by Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority to allow us to actually lend to customers in case the savings that you've saved up are not enough. Clinic Pesa is very relevant. It's actually a household product or service. It's relevant in a sense that everyone does fall sick. When you run around, do your work, at the end of the day, you come down with sickness, you need access to financing. And the challenge is that in our community, we were used to calling friends and relatives, but now there's a solution that gives you back your, what I call the pride of not having to ask anyone for money. Yeah, some of the challenges that Clinic Pesa has faced to date, when you look at the element of expansion, because the service not only works in central region, but works across the country. Now, that is capital intensive in terms of investing in infrastructure, investing in marketing, investing in awareness creation. So when we look at Clinic Pesa as a service, when we look at success areas like partnerships, like the one we currently have with MTN, has given us the element of crossing one of the biggest challenges, which is extending the service beyond what we could typically have done in terms of channels. And this gives us the advantage of cutting through that challenge of accessibility, which most solutions have actually failed to achieve. How generally Clinic Pesa works today is that you pick your handset, as long as you have an MTN registered SIM card, you can be able to dial *165 *44 hash, and you'll be able to see Clinic Pesa menu. If you're not yet registered, it will ask you to enter your mobile money PIN to be able to complete the registration. And there you go. You can be able to start saving. You can actually set an auto save to save. You can be able to save manually on a daily. And by the way, for expectant mothers, we have a customized product called Clinic Pesa Mama. And the Clinic Pesa Mamas typically helps these mothers to be able to save so that they can actually have a safe child delivery.
Uganda Securities Exchange update and the gains for Centum, East African breweries, and as the market holds steady. So trading on the Uganda Securities Exchange remained largely stable today, with notable movements from Centum Investment Company Limited and East African Breweries Limited. Centum climbed 3.04% to 335 shillings, while East African Breweries surged 3.72% to 4,935 shillings per share. That reflects growing investor confidence. Meanwhile, major counters like Airtel Uganda, MTN Uganda, and Stanbic held steady at 90 shillings per share and 47 shillings per share respectively. So light trading volumes were recorded in several counters, including Airtel Uganda and MTN Uganda, with selective activity driving market dynamics. Other regional players like KCB Group and Kenya Airways faced pressure, shedding 2.16% and 2.77% respectively. On to the Uganda Treasury market update. We'll look at the yields, which edged higher as investors eye longer tenors. So the Uganda government securities market showed a gradual uptick in yields across both short and long-term tenors. 3-month papers are trading at an average yield maturity of above 11%, while 6 and 12-month securities are offering increasingly attractive returns. Climbing past 15% on longer dated issues, investor appetite remains steady, especially for issues maturing beyond 2025, reflecting expectations of sustained tight monetary policy and inflationary pressures, according to experts. Now, the surge in yield suggests a cautious but optimistic market sentiment, positioning for better returns amid the shifting economic landscape. That was Business Now. You can join us again next week, Monday, 8:30, for more insights into our fast-moving world of finance and enterprise and issues that are shaping our economy.